Good day, everyone. Richard Cowperthwait for Northwest Access TV. Thanks for joining us. We're getting ever closer to Vermont Town Meeting Day coming up on March 5th, 2024. And at this point, I've scheduled about a dozen shows, hoping to and planning to interview candidates in the St. Albans, Swanton, Suzie, Kelleher, and Shayne, Mott. Thanks for jumping in, folks. Appreciate that.
No problem. Thanks for having us.
And I should note, I took a better look at the Swanton Village report today. Of course, you're hoping to succeed Christopher Leach.
Yes.
And nice on the back cover of the village report. Boy, I knew Chris had been on the board for a long time, but geez, that's I wasn't aware of 28 years, I guess.
I moved to Swanton in 1980 when my dad started working for the Swanton Village Police Department. Lived there, went through the Swanton schools, graduated in 1993, enlisted in the Navy, spent 2 years in the Navy, returned home, joined the Army National Guard, and the run coordinator for Wear Blue to Remember, which is a group that actively remembers the military's fallen. I started a walking group in the community in October of last year. I facilitate an American Sign Language meetup at the Swanton Library. Currently, I'm working with the director of the library to bring a Finding Your Roots kind of program to the elders. I volunteer for a suicide hotline for at-risk youth ages 14 to 25. When my boys were in Missisquoi, I was the football mom for 6 years and helped Coach Chaffee with facilitating logistics and different things for the boys, dinners and stuff. And for 3 years, I volunteered for Meals on Wheels, but I stepped back from that after losing several clients that I had grown really close to. So that's about me in a nutshell.
So a lot of years in Swanton Village. Shayne, tell us about yourself.
So, thank you for having us again today.
All right, thanks for coming.
Like we discussed earlier, born and raised in good old small town Bakersfield, Vermont.
Right.
You know, not a whole lot going on there as much as, you know, we didn't have a fancy Walmart growing up or anything of that sort. So it's whatever that we could find and be creative, you know, use our imagination. From there, lived there all the way up till about 18 years of age. Graduated 4 fabulous years from BFA St. Albans in 2012. From there, never really thought about college, never thought about military. I was always, you know, growing up pretty much poverty. So I had to basically work. You know, I had to work hard with everything that I was trying to achieve at the time. And, you know, basically make sure I was well taken care of. On top of that, I have been a resident of the Village of Swanton since 2016. From there, I have joined the Swanton Village Fire Department. And also, I am now most recently joined the Missisquoi Valley Rescue. So as far as serving the community, definitely done a lot of good for the community. You know, just being there in general, providing our public services, and, you know, looking after the village as a whole.
So what prompted you to jump into the village trustee race?
You know, I've always had my hand at politics, because another piece of me that I forgot to mention was I worked 7 years for DOC at Northwest State Correctional Facility. Sure. And from there, I've always had an interest in the union. I was, not for a long period of time, but for a short period of time, I was their steward for the VSEA. And then from there, I was the Franklin Grand Isle County chapter president.
Interesting. And Suzie, again, your father, of course, Dale Messier, former Franklin County Sheriff.
Yes.
So what prompted you to jump into this race?
I kind of grew up in politics. I mean, my dad ran for sheriff when I was 12. Right. I can remember the earliest years standing out in front of polls when I was in middle school trying to get people to vote for Dad. Yeah. But when I had kids, I was trying to balance everything. It just didn't seem like the right time. And last year I had considered running against Adam Paxman, but it just didn't feel like the right time with my son being in the Army at boot camp and knowing that I was going to be making trips down to Georgia to see him. So now felt like the time for me, that I had more time to devote to the constituents of of the village and be able to be there and be their voice.
Yeah. Again, mention the other contest with Neil Spear, the incumbent president, being challenged by David Winchester.
Yes.
Can you tell us who you're supporting in that race? Anything you want to say about that?
David and I are running together.
Okay.
We're running pretty much on the same platform. We've sent out postcards together. We're having a meet and greet together on February 24th. And, I am supporting David. We have the same vision for the future of Swanton. So we are in alignment on most views for the future of the village.
Okay, I should know, we're taping the show on Thursday, February 15th.
Yeah.
Shayne, are you backing anybody, either one of the candidates for village president?
Absolutely. It's pretty evident that I'm supporting Neil Spear.
Yeah.
He's been in that position for some time now, and honestly, we're gonna have our qualms, we're gonna have our issues, but I believe the village isn't gonna be, or it's not where it is today, without him as the president and the previous boards and the trustees that have helped get it to where it is today.
Right. What's the biggest issue out there? You're talking to voters, or hopefully folks who will take the time to vote. What's the biggest issue or issues you're hearing? Obviously, the biggie on the ballot is the proposal for a new public safety facility.
Yes, sir.
Going from, I believe, 8 hours a day, 7 days a week, to, I think, 10 hours a day, getting a little more coverage, but for the price tag's gone up quite a bit.
Yeah, and I have several people that always ask me where do I stand on the building.
Yeah.
Quite frankly, I haven't gave a final decision on where I stand with it,
Huh.
because I really don't want that target on my back necessarily, because I'm a part of the project per se, because I'm a member of
No,
the
of course,
fire
you're a member
department.
of the fire department.
So I don't want to persuade people yes or no. I think overall, it's up to the voters. They have the knowledge, they see the facts, and they have all the right to, hit the polls, vote on how they feel and view it.
Number of other articles on, I guess the usual ones for the village, with the general fund, fire department, police department, highway department, the four kind of regular ballot items. Do you support them? Any problems with any of those other four?
I don't have any problems with the other four. I believe that, the general fund is needed to do our day-to-day basis. The highway always needs funds. We want to have clean sidewalks to walk on, and we want clean roads to drive on. I don't have a problem with that. And, the police budget has actually, I think, gone down from last year. And, kudos to them for, the work that they do. I know policing is hard. I was a deputy sheriff. My father was the sheriff. My husband's in law enforcement. My middle son is in law enforcement. So I know that it's a hard job, and I think they deserve to have what they're asking for.
Hearing you on this specific proposal, the police department certainly doesn't have a lot of room. Do you think something needs to be done for the PD?
Absolutely,
Yeah.
something needs to be done for the PD. They don't have, they don't have a sally port to bring in prisoners. They don't have interview room or holding cells. They absolutely need space. They don't have space for their the property that they've seized. So I do believe that they need space. $14.8 million is a big ask for a grand list of $1.6 million. That's what the village has for a grand list, is $1.6 million. So taxes are going to go up, and there's already elders in our community who are on fixed incomes who cannot afford the taxes as they already are, and are going to Canada to buy prescription medicine, and I don't want to see our elders pushed out of their homes.
Shayne, the other four items, kind of the regular four items, do you have any problem with those proposals?
No, absolutely not.
Yeah.
I think the other four ballot items that were proposed and are going to be on the ballot are more than sufficient. It's not asking for a whole lot, and, it's a budget that is needed across all four items.
Of course, a huge issue in Swanton Village. I'm not a Swanton Village resident, but get to the village periodically, and just the truck traffic, as anybody knows who's ever been to Swanton Village, is just a tough issue. Does anybody here have any magic solutions to trying to reduce the truck traffic? Shayne, any thoughts on that issue?
It's always going to be an uphill battle because it is the number one, passageway from your truck drivers from New York, to get back to the interstate, whether if they go left to Canada or right into the city and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
It's always going to be a battle that's going to take a lot of heads. It's going to take a lot of meetings to figure out how we can, better sustain that issue.
Yeah, I guess the hope is, again, the route to Montreal is certainly faster these days with the highway north of Highgate Springs. I guess they've got one more section to do. I guess there's a hope that once they complete that to the border, that might ease truck traffic a bit. But Suzie, any thoughts on truck traffic?
Well, I do know that currently the village is working to ease the traffic coming over the Veterans Bridge up Gristmill Hill into Merchants Row, and they're talking of, doing something with the traffic pattern, putting stop signs in, and crosswalks. So the village as a whole is looking at how it's being impacted and what can be done, and they're working on a solution for that.
Safety, compounds to the problem because, like I said, it's a massive interstate system, and the amount of traffic that goes in and out of that one area per se. Because last I've seen, we already have our off-ramp coming into the village right near Frontage Road, and just before you turn left in the village and right before you turn into town or what have you. But it's just a massive interstate section, and it's almost a liability at this point if they were to move on with that.
Down to a couple minutes. Quickly, merger. Anybody ask you about a merger? Would you
Yes.
Would you like to see or at least explore a
would.
merger between the village and town?
David Winchester and I are for One Swanton.
Meaning merging the village
Merging.
and town.
Yes.
Shayne, any thoughts on a possible merger?
So once again, in theory, it looks great, it sounds great, but the folks have to realize if there was a merger between the village and the town, we're talking more of a tax situation, more meetings, more heads coming together to plan and pre-plan this. Because if you're talking a merger, the village taxes will go down and the town taxes will most likely increase.
Down to about 2 minutes. Suzie, I gave you the first word. I'll give Shayne the last word, but I'll give you about a minute or so to tell us about, your running. Just wrap up, make your case. Why would you be a good candidate to be elected to succeed Christopher Leach?
I think it's time for a change, and it's time for a fresh perspective. And as somebody who's deeply rooted in the community of Swanton, I feel like I have a lot to offer, a lot of experience through the work that I've done and the volunteer work that I've done, and I'm a quick study, so I feel like I would be good for the job. Also, integrity and transparency are very important to me, so I feel like as a trustee, you work for the voter, and I would work for the voter to bring the voices of the voters to the table.
Shayne, I'll give you about a minute. Make your case.
Absolutely. Bringing my fresh blood to the table and to the board itself to help support the community, only being 29 years old and showing interest in politics, I just want the folks to know you can do this at a young age. If you put the hard work in and, put your mind to it, you can do just about anything you'd like. But overall, with that, and I knowing being a member of Swanton Fire and Missisquoi Valley Rescue, if for some reason me, being a village trustee, if elected, and I would have to step away from those two positions, it'd be a consideration.
Okay, about a minute left. I'll just again mention Vermont Town Meeting Day, not too far away, March 5th. Folks can certainly vote earlier than that if they want, but again, just about 2.5 weeks away or so. Again, we're taping this show on Thursday, February 15th. And again, not one but two contests in Swanton Village, also a contest for Swanton Village President, with incumbent Neil Spear being challenged by David Winchester, and some major ballot items which we've touched on. So a lot of things going on. Hopefully folks will be watching us here, reading what newspaper accounts there are, and paying some attention to upcoming Vermont Town Meeting Day. Sounds like Swanton may be one of the places in Franklin County getting the most attention, understandably. Anyway, many thanks to the two candidates, Suzie Kelleher and Shayne Mott. Appreciate the time. Again, the two candidates for Swanton Village Trustee, and one will be succeeding longtime trustee Christopher Leach. Appreciate their time. And appreciate my producer always, Josh Pryor. We appreciate you watching us here on Northwest Access TV. I'm Richard Cowperthwait. See you next time.